Hey guys, let's get more news from Miami Heat, but first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave your like. Heat's Bam Adebayo sounds off on causing Jason Tatum injury. The Miami Heat got blown out at home, again, in Game 4 of their first-round series versus the Boston Celtics, but despite the lopsided nature of the contest, it did not end without controversy. With the Celtics up by 13 points with a little over 5 minutes left in regulation, Boston star forward Jason Tatum tried to take a shot after a whistle. Heat center Bam Adebayo, however, did not mind the call and continued to challenge Tatum's shot. Tatum then landed on Adebayo's foot, hurting his ankle in the process. Adebayo was slapped with a flagrant foul on the Heat star, who did not say much about the contact with Tatum following the 102-88 loss to Boston. "I don't even know. We just gone move on from that, you gonna get me fined," Adebayo told reporters during the post-game press conference, by Zachary Weinberger of Clutch Points. Adebayo's job on defense got lighter when Celtics big man Kristaps Porzingis left in the middle of Game 4 with an apparent lower body injury, but the Heat still struggled to keep up with Boston. The former Kentucky Wildcats big man, however, made a big impact on the contest, as he finished with 25 points, 17 rebounds, and 5 assists while shooting 11-22 from the field with a three-pointer in 42 minutes of action on the floor. As for Tatum, he scored 20 points and grabbed 11 rebounds to go with 5 dimes dished out in 37 minutes. He went just 5/14 from the field, but Tatum got to the line a lot and sank all his 8 attempts from the charity stripe. If Porzingis misses Game 5 and Tatum gets slowed down by the ankle injury, that could change the completion of the series and inject hope into the flickering chances of the Heat to pull off a first-round miracle comeback versus the Celtics. Whatever the case would be for Porzingis and Tatum in Game 5, the Heat are going to need Adebayo to be at his 100% or more. He has been the most consistent player for the Heat in the playoffs thus far, and he's also their best defender, having averaged 22.5 points on 53.5 field goal percentage, 10.5 rebounds, and 3.3 assists through 4 games against Boston. The margin of error for the Heat in this series is down to 0. Another loss, and it's an early vacation for Adebayo and company, and it is not about to get much easier for them since their next game will be in enemy territory again. Game 5 is set to take place on Wednesday in Beantown, though, it's worth noting that Miami's only win in this series to date happened at TD Garden in Game 2. Perhaps playing another game there would spark the Heat. Back in Game 2, Miami had their guns on fire, as the Heat shot nearly 50% from the floor and drained 23 three-pointers on a spectacular 53.5% success rate from deep. Adebayo had 21 points in that contest, while 3 other Heat players scored at least 21 points, including Caleb Martin and Tyler Herro, who combined for 11 threes. It's a tough ask for the Miami Heat to shoot that well again, but it's probably the only way that their banged-up, Jimmy Butler-less roster can defy the odds and overcome Jason Tatum and the high-powered Celtics. Derrick White scores 38, Celtics top Heat 102-88 to take a 3-1 East playoff series lead. The good news for the Miami Heat is that the Boston Celtics might not be back in South Florida for a few months. And that's also the bad news for the Heat. Boston now has full control of this Eastern Conference series, with Derrick White scoring a career-high 38 points on Monday night and leading the top-seeded Celtics past the 8th-seeded Heat 102-88 to take a 3-1 lead in their opening round NBA playoff series. "I made a couple shots early," said White, who was 15 of 26 from the field and 8 of 15 from three-point range. "That always helps. Once you make a couple, the basket looks huge." The Celtics won at Miami for the 6th straight time and improved to 14-3 in their last 17 games on the Heat's home floor. But it was a costly win, with Kristaps Porzingis going down in the first half with what the team said was a right calf injury. He left the arena in a walking boot, often used as a precaution. Celtics coach Joe Mazzulla said he had not gotten a post-game update on Porzingis' condition. "I didn't see what happened," Mazzulla said. Jason Tatum added 20 points and 10 rebounds for the Celtics, who got 17 points from Jaylen Brown and 11 from Drew Holiday. "We had to keep fighting," Tatum said, and play desperate in a way. Bam Adebayo finished with 25 points, 17 rebounds, and 5 assists for Miami, which had a sellout crowd, including Lionel Messi, but played again without injured starters Jimmy Butler, knee, and Terry Rozier, neck. The Heat managed only 84 points in Game 3 and struggled again on offense in Game 4. Tyler Herro scored 19 points and Caleb Martin had 18 for the 8th-seeded Heat. Miami lost rookie starter Jamie Jaquez Jr. in the second half with leg tightness. He will be evaluated Tuesday. "Offensively, we struggled again," Heat coach Eric Spoelstra said. "We had some decent looks early on, weren't able to knock those down, and Derrick White was very good tonight obviously. He was just very efficient, very good." The Celtics can advance to the second round on Wednesday when they host Game 5. The Boston-Miami winner will meet the Cleveland-Orlando winner in the East semifinals. That Cavaliers-Magic series won't end until at least Friday. "We're going into the Lions' den," Adebayo said. "Everybody knows what's at stake. It's 3-1. But the Celtics now have an injury concern, with Porzingis lifting his jersey over his face in exasperation after getting hurt late in the first half. "Worried," said Celtics center Al Horford, who started after halftime in Porzingis' place. "Just concerned. Definitely concerning for me. He's in good spirits, but we don't know what it's going to be. I'm just hoping that it's nothing serious and he can get back to us quick." With 5:04 left, there was some more drama after Tatum tried to shoot a three-pointer moments after a foul was called. Adebayo defended the dead ball play, and Tatum rolled his left ankle after Adebayo stepped into his landing area. Referees called a flagrant 1 on Adebayo, and a technical on Horford for reacting. Tatum remained in the game. "I'm sure he's fine," Mazzulla said. Adebayo didn't want to discuss the explanation he got as to why what he did merited a flagrant foul designation. "We're just going to move on from that," he said. The good news for Boston: history says this series is just about over. This is the 29th time a Boston team has taken a 3-1 lead in a best-of-7 series. The Celtics won all 28 of the previous series, including 7 times in the NBA Finals and a first-round series against Miami in 2010, the last games the Heat played before luring LeBron James and Chris Bosh to South Florida and forming a super team around Dwayne Wade. Miami just couldn't keep up in this one. White had 16 points in the first quarter, when the Celtics built a 34-24 lead. And no matter what the Heat did on defense, the offense couldn't make up any gaps. Miami Heat reportedly considered favorites for potential Kevin Durant trade after Suns swept by Timberwolves. The Phoenix Suns will have no other choice but to think long and hard about their future after the Minnesota Timberwolves embarrassed them via a first-round sweep. You would think that the Suns would want to keep its core intact as they look to go and have another run with the same group. The reality for them, however, is that they could be faced with the prospect of not having Kevin Durant on their roster next season. You can't blame the fans for wondering about Durant's loyalty to the Suns, especially with the way the season ended for them. After all, KD has jumped ship multiple times in the past few years. Could this be the case again in Phoenix this summer? According to an anonymous Western Conference executive, this is a distinct possibility. In fact, he's identified the Miami Heat as a potential landing spot for Durant if he decides to call time on his son's tenure. "There are a few teams that should come up," the unnamed executive told Sean Devaney of Heavy.com. The Heat would be a favorite. The executive did not provide any details on what a blockbuster deal could look like between the Suns and the Heat, but given the magnitude of this potential trade, you can be sure that this would change the landscape of the NBA. For what it's worth, KD is still locked up with Phoenix through 2026, which also points to the fact that Miami will need to give up a whole lot to lure the former NBA MVP to South Beach. The NBA postseason has barely started and is already over for Kevin Durant. The forward for the Phoenix Suns, a team from Arizona, in the United States, lost the first 4 matches against the Minnesota Timberwolves in the playoffs and is out of title contention. The game that took the 35-year-old veteran out of the championship took place on Sunday, 28, in front of his own fans. Pressured to avoid the team's early elimination, Kevin Durant, in addition to his 33 points, saw Devin Booker score another 39, but it wasn't enough. Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns were willing to take the Timberwolves to the NBA semifinals. With 40 points from Edwards and a double-double from Towns, with 28 points and 10 rebounds, the visitors prevailed and won 122-116. Another veteran who could lead the title race is LeBron James. Trailing the series 3-1, the Los Angeles Lakers need to win 3 more games against the Denver Nuggets and force Game 7 to win. The feat has never happened in the history of the championship. And you fan, what do you think of the Kevin Durant situation? Leave your opinion in the comments.